Alright guys, welcome back. It's been a while. This video is about how the devil, the defeated foe Satan, how he likes to recruit people over to his side, his team. First of all, I'm going to let you know you don't want to be on his team. This is the team you want to be on, Team Jesus. This is the one that's victorious. The devil has failed twice. His team has failed twice. Fallen angels are angels of God that decided to join the devil's team. Then there is the end of the Bible, the book of Revelation 20 verse 10, where the devil himself, Satan, Lucifer, defeated foe, loser, whatever you want to call him, that's when it's his doom. His time is up. It's over. He gets what he deserves. So to be on his team is to be on a losing team, and that just doesn't make sense to me. But anyways, I'm going to get into the basics here of how he recruits people over to his team and what his team looks like. To know if you're on the devil's team or not is to know of sin. If you know what sin is, sin against God, what is sinful is stealing, lying, cheating, gossiping, murder, and the list goes on. Anything that is against God, obviously, against the 10 Commandments, obviously, and you can look those up in Exodus chapter 20. That's sin. But anything that is not righteous is sin. So now that you know what sin is, you know that if you commit any of those sins, if you are currently committing, not in the past and you've come away from it and you're not that person anymore, it's if you're about to commit that sin or you are in the present moment committing that sin and living out that sinful life. If that is you, you are on his team. Whether you want to believe it or not, whether you can admit it to yourself or not, you are on his team 100%. Worshipping of false gods, you're on his team. Lying to people, you're on his team. Bullying, you're on his team. Why are you on his team? Because you're doing the devil's works. He's using you as a pawn on a chessboard to make moves with in this world, to fulfill his works, to recruit through spiritual transfer of traumatic experience. You lying to someone, you murdering someone, that's traumatic to people around who lost that loved one. That's traumatic to you if you're not a psycho and you just did it out of seeking revenge, anger, remorse, whatever it may be. An accident, or you can't accidentally murder someone, but if you end up killing someone accidentally, and not murdering but killing, that's traumatic. And that trauma is spiritual. And that trauma is like a poison that enters into your life that moment that it took place. And if you do not turn from that sin, you do not turn away from that lifestyle of living in that sin and ask God for forgiveness and repent and turn from that sinful lifestyle and become a better version on Jesus's team, then you're going to reap what you sow. As the Bible says, it's not karma, it's reaping what you sow. It's God's judgment. And you're going to have a life of hell, because living for the devil, serving the devil, allowing him to use you as a pawn, as a team member, is a life of hell. It may feel great while you're in it because he doesn't want you to be uncomfortable. If you're uncomfortable, you want out. So he wants to make you nice and comfortable, give you a lazy boy chair to relax on when you're not doing his little missions in life. And if you're comfortable, there's no problems. You don't want out. You're protected in this world because it's his world, but you're not protected by God and God's judgment that is laid out upon you. You're not protected if you reject Jesus Christ and thinking that you're going to see eternal salvation after you die here on this earth. That he can't give you. What he can give you is little sponsorship stuff from companies that sell out to him and that work with him. He can give you protection from people that are supposed to kill you or want to bully you, whatever it may be. He can move things around in this world to protect you because he's using you. But once you fail at what he wants you to do, he disposes of you like trash. He doesn't care if you die in your mission because you're just a pawn. You're just another person. You hold no value to him. Even witches who think they are like the queens of Satan's world, you are just a pawn. You're just being used, and he's built up this pride in your mind, in your life, of these powers that you have. And through these powers, you feel strong in this world. But guess what? Your powers are only good for this life, this world. Your powers don't give you eternity in heaven. In fact, they doom you to hell. They send you very low to the pit of fire. That's the judgment on your life if you continue being a puppet for Satan. So anyways, what I'm going to tell you is how he recruits. How he recruits is just like, you know how Jesus in the Bible, he went to those who needed help the most, those who were handicapped, those who were dead, those who couldn't see, those who had an affair. He went to those not who were perfect, as the Pharisee claimed to be, above the tax collector. He went to those who every day worry about their life, wonder why they're still here. You know, they walk around looking sad or angry, and people don't get them. And because they don't get them, they don't want to get involved. And because they don't want to get involved, they just act like they don't exist. So they don't even see you, or if they see you, they give you a weird look. And it just makes your situation a lot harder in life. Because now you feel like an outcast. Now you feel like everyone hates you. Now you feel like people are watching you with a magnifying glass and like investigating everything in your life. And that's not what you want. What you want is closure. What you want is answers. What you want is protection. What you want is healing. And all of that comes from Jesus Christ. Man cannot give you that. Only a relationship with God in your faith and trusting in the Lord in due time to be on his team, even if you don't see the results right away. You may see like, okay, yeah, in this world, all the bad people have the greatest life. Okay, what about your life as a child of God? Jesus said we'd be hated, but he didn't say we would lose. He said, I already won. I already overcame. That means you only have to endure, because in the end you win. So you just got to suffer for a little short period of time, and then you're victorious. And you have eternal salvation in heaven if you are born again. But for those who have life great here, and everything's going exactly as they want, I can't speak for all, but for the majority, I bet you they don't have Jesus. And because of that, they only have what is material, what is temporal in this world. They lost the battle, and they're on Satan's team. So whoever he deceived will go with him, just like the angels of God. They didn't stay in heaven. God didn't say, okay, well, the devil deceived you, but I sent Satan out and I casted him from heaven like lightning falling from the sky. But you can stay. God said, you chose to follow him and to worship him above me, then you can go be with him. And he casted them out of heaven. And that's why they're called fallen angels. That's not something to promote on a t-shirt. That's not something to look up to like a great thing. Oh, I'm a fallen angel. Oh, yo, fallen angels, they're so good looking, blah, blah, blah. No. Fallen angel is a demon. You want nothing to do with fallen angel. So, anyways, another way of how he recruits is through traumatic experiences. He will use someone who's already on his team, and just like a cult leader, they go out to recruit victims into their cult. Make them feel nice and cozy and comfortable, like we're family, anything you need, just stay away from your own personal family because they're crazy. We're the real family, which they're the ones that are crazy. But they get in your head so mentally because they know you're in a vulnerable state. And that's when the enemy likes to recruit, when you're vulnerable, when you just had a divorce, when you just lost your job, when you just had a falling out with a mother-in-law, father-in-law, when your brother and sister are fighting and they split and one moves away, whatever the situation may be, your best friend backstabs you, your boyfriend, girlfriend cheats on you, that's when the enemy comes swooping in. Hey, I'm here for you. Let's go to the bar and get drunk. Because if you're on my team, you gotta be under an influence. Because your influence has to be evil focused. So, trauma is what creates an open spiritual doorway into your emotions for the enemy to operate. You ever seen, what's it called? How should I put this? Can't think of an example, but if you think of someone like operating something, like let's say someone at a hotel, they're trying to check you into your hotel and putting all these keys and this and that, typing all this and information. They're the operation. That's what it's like. He uses your emotions as his weapon. And he knows if you're vulnerable, you're open to anything. Because you feel in that moment you have nothing to lose. You feel in that moment like you just want to die. You feel like in that moment that no one cares. So who better to father you in that moment is him, and he takes advantage of that opportunity. Because he knows, hey, if they're vulnerable, their judgment is out the window. If they're vulnerable, their morals, their values, non-existent. Because when you're vulnerable and in your emotions, you're not thinking clearly. You're not acting clearly. You're at your worst state in life. It is like hitting rock bottom. You know how they say, once you hit bottom, all you can go is up from there? Because that's the very bottom. There's nowhere else to go. You can't go below bottom. So once you hit the floor, there's nothing below the floor. So all that's left is up. So he likes to get you rock bottom. Ways he can do that is through rape, molestation. He could have someone rape you. He could have someone molest you. He could have someone kidnap you. He could have someone cheat on you, lie to you, make sure you catch them in the lie so that way you're aware of the lie and the lie affects you. He could have someone physically abuse you, verbally abuse you, a bully at school. Whoever is doing evil in this world is on his team. It's like they're reporting to him, hey, today I was a good bully for you and I picked on this kid and now I ruined this kid's life because now he's terrified. He's terrified to come to school. I made him even cry, or her. And that's his job, is to bring trauma, toxicness, poison of an experience over to that person. Now, the stronger you are, the better the outcome is for you. The weaker you are, the greater advantage he has over you. Because if you are strong, where our strength comes from Christ, but your own personal strength, you have enough of that as well. But when you are strong, if that bully attacks you and you don't reply because you know that's what the bully wants is a reaction, because that's their supply, which toxic Jezebels, narcissists, a supply means they love to get in your emotions. They love to make you mad. They love to see you angry. They love to see you heartbroken and hurt. And they'll pretend like they're there for you, but they're the ones that created the problem in the first place. They're the ones that stirred up the drama that they feed off of. So their supply is like a bee to honey. It's their honey. It's what they need to eat in order to survive. So they need this supply in order to be happy in life. They're miserable human beings that are extremely toxic beyond belief, psychotic. So they need more psycho in their life instead of healthy, normal, good stuff. So they create situations in your life to build up that psychoness, that poison in your life, that trauma, that bad experience, whatever it may be, negative situation, drama with friends, drama with your family, whatever it may be, they feed off of that. So if you're a victim of any of the enemy's attacks, strength is your second best weapon. Jesus is your first. Strength is your second best weapon. If you can control your emotions, he is powerless to you. You remove and strip him of his weapon over you. It's like you hand him a gun, but there's no bullets. What good is it? He can't fire at you. But if you are weak, if you are vulnerable, if you don't go to God, if you try to trust in yourself, if you trust in others, you're giving him a fully loaded gun. That's not very wise. So, trauma, again, can happen through neglect. Maybe a mother's neglecting you, a father's neglecting you, a spouse is neglecting you, your best friend's neglecting you, whatever it may be. Strength, like I said, if you don't fight back to that bully, if you don't give a reaction, that bully has no power over you. So you don't have to deal with traumatic situations compared to someone else who's scared, who cries, who feels bad for themselves, and they just want to curl up in a ball and hide, or hide in a shell like a turtle so no one can find them. Those are the ones that continue to see more and more of that happening to them. They will go through traumatic experience of, I went through high school, 3 years, 2 years, whatever, bullying, and then they have a lot of therapy to do in order to heal. I don't believe in therapy, first of all. I go to the Word of God, I go to prayer, fasting for therapy. But the world will tell you, pay this shrink who knows nothing about you, who you're going to spill your whole life to, and just based off what they hear you say, they're going to come up with this answer for you. I don't believe in that. God knows you better than anybody else. He created you. So he is the one you want to go to, not pay some shrink. God is free. It's just another way for a government to make money through taxes and all of this. Having you go to college, that's what therapy is. So I'm not going to go too into it. Like, if you're a therapist, cool, great. I hope you're an honest, genuine therapist who really cares to change people's lives. But for most part, it's just a scam. I've dealt with many therapists in my past where my mom tried to push me into this therapist and that therapist, and I wanted nothing to do with it. I left after the first visit. I knew there was something off. It was weird. You're a stranger. I'm pouring out my whole life to you of like personal information, deep, dark down personal information that my own parents didn't even know. And I'm going to just pour it out to you for what? Anyways, that's here nor there. Trauma is how he recruits. Like I said, the people that you see that are angry, that are sad, that are stressed out, that's a gift and a sign from God of emotions. Those emotions are a warning signal to those around who care. And it's that person expressing themselves. They don't have to show that they're sad. They don't have to show that they're angry. They can put on a fake face like most people do when they go to work after having a fight at home or whatever the situation may be. They're showing it because part of the reason, like me, I can't hide my emotions. If I'm upset, I'm sorry, I'm bringing that to work. Like, I can't pretend to be someone else, like a psycho. I'm not saying if you do that, you're psycho, but psychos do that. I can't pretend to be someone else and just be like, hey, how's your day? Even though 5 minutes earlier I was pissed off or I was crying hysterically. I can't do that. If my emotions are triggered for the day, that's it. Usually the rest of my day is that. It's just me and my emotions. And by doing so, you're giving the enemy more power over you, more control over you. If you learn how to tune those emotions, you control those emotions, pray and ask God to help you to have self-control and strength with your emotions, that is one of the greatest things against the enemy that you strip him of. If he can't get into your emotions, he can't get control over you. You can't be demon possessed if you're a child of God. If you're not born again, he can possess you and do whatever he wants to you like a robot. But if you have Jesus residing in you, he can't touch you. So all he can do is attack 3 areas: your emotions and your heart and your mind. You let him attack those 3 areas, he has full control over you. If you learn how to strengthen those areas, have self-control over those areas, not allowing intruders into those areas, allowing demons to get in your head and tell you all this negative stuff. Oh, you're never gonna make it. Oh, you're not successful. Oh, look at everybody else, they're successful. You're a loser. Oh, no one loves you. If you allow that, that's no better than allowing a bully to physically abuse you. That's mental abuse. And that's because demons like to torment. And demons like to torment because their tormenting is almost in the sense like a change of DNA. I mean, that's to an extreme, but I'm giving you an example of like a difference. If you have the flu and it's contagious and you touch someone else, now they have the flu. That's what it's like. Any kind of sickness that's contagious. That's what it's like. They're contagious disease of the devil. And they want to spread their disease on you, on majority of the world, because he wants it to be known, 1, that this is my world, and 2, that even children that belong to God, I can get them on my side. That's why it's important for us to know the Bible in and out the best that we can. I'm struggling with that myself, so I'm not acting like a saint about this. To know it in and out, and to use it as the sword of the Spirit for the warfare that comes against us. The warfare is the mind. It's not a weapon you're supposed to have physically because it's not a physical battle. It's a spiritual battle, spiritual war. So it's the mind. And what trains the mind? Things that you read, things that you listen to, things that you watch. Now, if you know that is how things get planted into your mind, then you know you need to have a filtering system. That filtering system is your judgment, is your morals, is your values, and is the Word of God as the final authority, the fear of the Lord. If you use that system, you will filter out what doesn't belong. And if you filter it out, you don't accept it. So you may have heard it because you're listening to music and you hear this lyric and you're like, whoa, that's bad. Take the earbuds out, or change the song, or throw that stupid CD in the trash, or burn it because it's from the pit of hell. Whatever. That's extreme, but I'm just telling you. If you hear it, what you accept stays. If you accept your girlfriend, boyfriend coming back to you, they're gonna stay. If you don't accept it, then you don't have to wake up the next morning and see them because you didn't accept them as a part of your life. If you accept a dinner that's served to you from a restaurant, it stays on the table. If you don't accept it, it goes back. So that's why scripture is very clear and tells you what to avoid. It's not God trying to be this controlling God. It's him being a loving God and protecting you from harm's way, from the enemy's grip, from the enemy's torment and manipulation. It's a guide of love and a gift to you to protect you in war. So if you think you don't have to go to war and being a Christian is like paradise on earth, you're living in religion, my friend, not relationship. Religion deceives you to believe you're going to heaven after you die. So of this world you live in now, just like everybody else, make the best of it. Don't let it go to waste. Sell out if you have to. Scam someone if you have to. Do some dirty work to get ahead. That's what religion leads you to do in life. A relationship with biblical Jesus Christ. And I say biblical because there are false Christs as examples in religion that are not biblical. So I have to say born again and biblical to let you know the real deal, the one and only, the great I am. So when it comes to filtering, you have to look to the Bible. And you already know in your heart because God engraved it in our hearts to know good and evil, right and wrong at a certain age. That's why before you reach that age, if you die, you go to heaven. As far as I know, I'm not a pastor, but you can't face judgment of sin if you don't know what sin is. I mean, don't take my word for it. I don't want to say something wrong here, but I'm saying like if it's a kid that's like 1 year old, if they pass away, unfortunately, pretty sure they go to heaven. But if it's a kid that's like 10 years old, they know right from wrong. How are they living their life? They have a choice. Do I want to live for wrong or do I want to live for right? Do I want to give my life to Jesus and live for right and live righteously through Christ? Or do I want to live for the devil and be on his team and do things that are unrighteous? So I'm going to leave it at that. You pray to God and ask for the answer. I'm not giving a specific answer because I don't know that answer. Just like I don't know if all animals go to heaven. And I'm not just going to say that just so it's a happy thought for you. I want facts. And not just facts, but biblical facts. Straight from the mouth of God. And if I can't give you that, then I'm not going to say it's a definite, it's official. You need to pray about it. So, anyways, filtering. Don't allow your eyes to see what you shouldn't be seeing. What then will be a stumbling block to you? If you have a problem with drinking, if you allow your eyes to see a beer ad, if you allow your eyes to be at a bar and looking at alcohol behind the bar, that's a stumbling block to you. But to others who don't drink or don't have a problem with drinking, getting drunk, it's not a stumbling block to them. They can see an ad for beer, does nothing to them. They can be at the bar, does nothing to them because they have self-control. So it's the same concept with lusting after other people. If you're looking at half-naked women, half-naked men, if you're watching pee, if you're looking at magazines, whatever, then that's a stumbling block to everybody. You should not be lusting because that is sin. Committing adultery within your heart is lusting after someone else. That's breaking one of the 10 commandments. So, if you haven't noticed, that's why the enemy plants these things in this world, because he's trying to recruit whoever the ad calls. Let's say there's a McDonald's commercial. If someone loves McDonald's, but they haven't even been thinking about McDonald's for like the past year, or even now, if you haven't been thinking about it until I told you, I'm sorry, I'm not trying to promote McDonald's, but if that is the case, then that ad was to target you. Because now you're like, oh, McDonald's, that's actually a good idea. I should go get some. They just got a customer. They just made money. That's what ads are about. So if there's someone who doesn't care about McDonald's or has had McDonald's before and they see the ad and does nothing to them, they're like, I don't want McDonald's, it's a cool ad or whatever, or stupid ad, but I don't want McDonald's. That's not their audience. That's not their target. It's the same thing when you watch a movie. You see movies that are horror films. It's not a surprise. It says this is a horror film, and you willingly go and watch it because it feeds your anxiety, and that's your supply. So it's not like, oh, this is a children's movie and then all of a sudden there's a horror scene. That would be something else. But I mean, in a sense they do that, but it's hidden, subliminal. Not horror, but they do show the occult out in the spotlight through children movies and TV shows, commercials, cartoons. But we're not getting into that. So if that were the case, then you wouldn't be expecting it. But you're willingly going and watching a movie that you know is going to be people killing people. And now, if I were to tell you, hey, at 5 o'clock, let's say it's like 3 o'clock, at 5 p.m. on this street, there's going to be a mass murder. I want you to attend, bring some popcorn, you can sit down, we'll have chairs, and you can watch it. No one would show up. Or actually, I can't say no one, because the psychos would show up. And that would be entertainment for them. So if you are okay with seeing that kind of thing just because it's fiction, that's the enemy conditioning your mind, which is pure, which is clean, and distorting it. It's like having something clean, like a white shirt. You have a white shirt on, and there's no stains, no dirt, nothing. He comes and takes dirt, puts it on you. Now you can't say you're clean. Person next to you, hey, I got a clean white shirt. I don't, mine's dirty. That's how he marks you. So he recruits by looking for a target audience. He puts out this movie. Who will go see it? Whoever goes and sees it, it doesn't mean you're a psycho, but there are psychos that watch it. One, it distorts your emotions and how you feel toward death, how you feel toward others. Jesus said you're supposed to love your neighbor as yourself, and here you are watching someone murder their neighbor. So it distorts how you view people, how you view human beings. They're not showing you robots killing each other. They're showing you human beings, which are actors, but they're not terrible actors where you know for sure this is fake. They specifically put out casting calls, do auditions. I've been there, I know, to find the actor that makes it most realistic and believable. Because the more believable it is, the more your mind receives it as facts, as truth, as acceptable, as okay. So you're watching this stuff. And yeah, in the back of your mind, the enemy's telling you, it's fake. That person didn't really die. That's on a film set. That's fake blood. It's probably ketchup, probably whatever. That's what your mind's telling you. That's what the enemy's telling you in your mind. but your mind is seeing the image as, I identify this in your real life. This is on a screen, but I can see that this person has hair like that person down the street the other day that was walking. This person has arms and legs and eyes and a mouth and a nose, and yep, that's a human being. So your mind is connecting the dots. Your mind isn't saying this is fiction, so no need to worry. Your mind is saying this is how we need to view human beings. That we should hate them. We should want to kill them. We should laugh when they're getting their heads chopped off. We should find it entertaining to hear people scream in torture and fear. And they make it entertaining. I can't even believe that they can allow it to be called entertaining. If you had your parent die and you saw them get murdered, would you call that entertaining? Would you make a film about that and have people show up in a movie theater and buy tickets to that movie? No. But because it's a written script and it's fake and it's actors and it's fake, well, those actors are real people for a reason. It may not have taken place, but if you have eyes, you can see that it takes place in the real life. In the real world, there's serial killers. Okay? There's pedophiles. There's rapists. And the list goes on. So it's not fake, a fake world that doesn't exist. It's a fake viewing of a world that does exist. And that viewing is an ad, an advertisement to one, teach you how to kill and get away with it. Because in the movie, it's so detailed. And like, I'm gonna kill you, and then I'm gonna take this car of yours, and then I'm gonna bury your body here, and then I'm gonna dispose of your cell phone. At first, I'm gonna get a phone that isn't connected to a company. It's gonna be a prepaid phone. And it teaches you by detail how to be a serial killer. Now, someone who isn't psycho, who isn't demon possessed, it's not going to attract you like the McDonald's ad to someone who likes McDonald's. But to the person who's already on the edge of psycho, this is like orientation, job orientation for them. Like, here you go. This is what you got to do. Go buy a gun. Easy to do. Can get it no problem. Go get a knife. Go get a prepaid phone. Go stalk this person. It's pretty much an job orientation for them. A training video. So you guys see these movies, and I'm not talking about all movies. I'm talking about specific movies. I'm not saying movies can't be entertaining, but these kind of movies are advertisements for recruiting people over to the enemy side and teaching them, training them up secretively, because the enemy can't just come knocking on your door and have time to teach you. So he said, hey, pay for this training video and I'll teach you all you need to know. And then go out and do my work for me. Make me proud. So back to the point of this video is strength, forgiveness, heart. Remember those three things. If you're a victim of rape, of any kind of abuse, physical, verbal, of being lied to constantly, of being stabbed in the back, being betrayed, someone taking the life of someone that you care about, that you love, any traumatic, negative, bad experience that you have had to face, your parents beating the crap out of you, or neglecting you, or just buying you things and not knowing how to show you love, so therefore you feel lonely and lost, whatever it may be, first thing you have to do is forgive. It's not easy. That's why you need strength. And forgiveness comes from the heart. Even though this person killed my mother, killed my father, killed my sister, my brother, my best friend, my wife, my husband, my child, whatever it may be. If you allow what happened from that experience to transfer to you like a marking of dirt on a white shirt, you carry around that shirt every day of your life. You wake up every day miserable, angry, spiteful, revenge seeking. You are so toxic that people around you are now starting to feel your wrath. You are contagious. And why is that? Because you allowed a puppet of the devil to make a move that affected you so greatly that you welcomed him into your life as your new roommate. And you're wondering, why have I changed? Because you have a roommate that you don't like. A roommate that is making you a bad version of yourself. And that roommate is not physically there, it is mentally there. You gave that roommate rent-free space in your head. That is the worst thing you can do. Unforgiveness stems anger. First of all, God says, if you don't forgive, then he will not forgive you. Or Jesus said, if you don't forgive, my heavenly Father will not forgive you. So right there, if you don't have forgiveness, you're choosing to be on the losing team. Immediately. You don't have to be. You have a choice. You weren't recruited on that team like, hey, this is the team you're on, you don't have a say. You have a say. This team wants you, but you have a say of, do I want to have unforgiveness? Do I want to have anger? Do I want to revenge seek and be on this team? Or do I want to forget what happened the best that I can, heal from it, ask God to help me to overcome it, ask God to show me the heart to have to forgive this person, to let this go from my mind, to evict this person from my mind forever. This toxic poison, to not be a contagious virus that spreads to other people. So that's a choice you have to make. And if you make that choice of not being toxic, of not having unforgiveness, then you chose the winning team. And you will see that result in your life. Because you will have peace, maybe not right away, but you're working toward it. See, unforgiveness doesn't work toward peace. It goes in the opposite direction. Unforgiveness stems anger. Then anger brings loneliness. Then loneliness brings depression. Depression brings suicidal thoughts. And then the enemy, slowly but surely, is working his way, patiently as possible, to kill you off. Just by that one situation that took place in your life. That one traumatic experience. And if he can't kill you off, he can't get you to that point of, I want to end my life, then what he's going to do is torment you the rest of your life. Everything you try to succeed in, everything that you're supposed to enjoy, everything that you're supposed to grow from is going to be a weed that kills all the plants around your garden. It's going to suffocate everything in your life. Because there is no joy in anger. There is no happiness in hate. There is no success in failure. There is no company in loneliness. So if you allow these traits from this experience, because you are a victim, and rightfully so, but if you allow yourself to be that weak, vulnerable, giving up victim, then you're basically saying, let it happen to me again. Instead of saying, I've had enough. Strength stands up to the bully and says, I had enough. You need to stand up to these negative thoughts and say, enough is enough. No more. I'm not allowing it. You're not having this kind of control and power over me, Satan. I rebuke you in the name of Jesus Christ. That's how you need to stand up. Not, this happened to me, and this is why I feel this way, and this is why I didn't get this job, and this is why I'm not married, and this is why my son hates me, and this is why I can't move, and this is why no one wants to hang out with me. That's just victim mentality for the rest of your life, because you allowed this toxic poison to be a virus to you. When you can find the cure in forgiveness. Forgiveness is the cure. If I were to give you two options, you just been physically abused by your parent. Would you like the cure or would you like the virus? Here's the cure: forgiveness. I'm not saying you have to be best friends with them. I'm not saying you have to view them as the greatest parent and act like nothing happened. I'm not saying that at all. I'm saying you need to set yourself free from them. You need to not allow them to attach themselves to you like handcuffs to you and to them. You need to say, you're not attaching yourself to me. You don't deserve to take away my life, as in the success of your life, of how it's supposed to happen, how God ordained for it to happen, for you to have a family, for you to have a successful job, whatever you want in God's will. That's you taking a stand and saying, no, you're not tying yourself to me. But if you feel victim the rest of your life, and I know this because I've experienced this myself many times over through unforgiveness. My mom, she passed away, and this is not to talk bad about her. She's an amazing woman, amazing mother. She did the best that she could, all that she knew how to do. She was a monster when I was a child. She didn't know Christ. She had a traumatic experience as a child. I'm not going to get into details, but that's how the enemy recruited her over to his side. And then me being born as a child of God, with a calling on my life, with ministry, the enemy wanted to be right there at all times to smother me. And he still does. He won't give up. He's so obsessed with me, it's absolutely disgusting. And I'm not saying it in a prideful way, like I'm some special person. No. Only Jesus Christ is. But what I'm saying is, I'm a threat to his kingdom. Christ through me is. Not me, Michael. Not me as a human being. Christ working through me, because I gave my life to Christ, is a threat to the devil's kingdom. These videos are a threat to his plans, his agendas, his moves that he makes on people. And for the longest time, I was putting this video aside. I kept saying, I had it on a to-do list. I kept putting it aside. Oh, I'll do it later. I'll do it later. He was trying to make me not motivated to want to do it. He distracted me, kept me distracted, so that way I would put it aside longer. And he does that with everybody. So you got to be aware of that. But anyways, if you, like my mom, she was used. The very person that's supposed to love me, that is closest to me, my own mother, I was physically abused. And because of that abuse, I didn't view her as my mother. How could I? How can I look at you and say, you're my mom, I love you, when you're beating me to death? I can't do that. So again, I'm not talking bad about my mom. This is who she was. Then she became born again, and she was my best friend before she passed away. So thank God for that opportunity. She died of LAS. But ALS. I don't know what I said. But he didn't just have her. My dad was the only one in my life. Unfortunately, sad to say, my sister and I, we fought like crazy. My dad was the only one that never raised his voice to me, never spoke bad to me in any way. He was very calm, very loving, very chill and laid back. Never dealt with anything from my dad. My cousins, on my mom's side of the family, which is her brother, sister, son, daughter, whoever, but my two male cousins, the enemy worked through so greatly to monitor over my life, to condition me. one cousin, I'm not going to get into details of names and this and that, but he was molested by his stepfather. So you could imagine what demons transferred from his stepfather into him. His mother claimed to be a good witch, which doesn't exist. There's no good witch. If you're a witch, you're bad. You're working for the devil. There's no witch that works for God, period. I don't care what this world teaches you through New Age religion, that I'm a witch of light. No such thing. It's a false light. You're being deceived, or you're purposely trying to deceive others. But there is no good witch. There's Jesus Christ. That's it. There's nobody else. There's not even me who's worthy enough, valuable enough to be like, oh, I'm some chosen of God. No, it's Christ alone. There's only one way. There's not Jesus and this witch that works for God. It's Jesus, and it's biblical Jesus, not Catholic false Christ, not Muslim false Christ, Allah, not Mormon prophet, whatever, Joseph. That's not what it is. It's Jesus, Jesus Christ, biblical Jesus, that's it. So, with that being said, when I was over their house, it was like every day. Growing up, I was bullied in school. I'm going to share my testimony. That's next. It's like a movie. It's really long. And I've been putting that off for the longest time. And he always makes people put that off. If you're putting off your testimony, make sure to take charge now. Put it on your to-do list and do it. I'm going to be an example of that. And I'm going to put it up really soon. Because that is the thing that threatens his kingdom almost the most. Because it's an example of who you used to be. And that it's possible that you can change because of Christ. And that exposes the enemy into the light. It exposes that you used to be this party animal who got drunk, who slept around and committed sin through fornication and whatever else. You used to be this bully that beat up people, and now you're a protector. Now you don't drink, you're sober. Now you don't sleep around, you're married and you have a family. It's all through Christ. It glorifies Jesus in your life. And that is one of the biggest threats to the enemy. The Bible is the very first. Second, I believe, is testimony. So he will always make sure you put that off. But anyways, as a kid, because I was bullied, I didn't have people to hang out with. So I would always go over to my cousin's house, who was like right up the street. I just took my bike and rode there and hung out with him. It's my own family, right? So nothing wrong. It's my own family, but it's a Catholic family. My mom's mother was Catholic. My mom's father was Catholic. My mom's father abused her physically. And because of that abuse, she abused me, viewing me as getting back at her father for what he did to her. You see how that happens? She didn't hate me, Michael, her son. She hated her father who abused her. She hated her mother who told him to abuse her. And I'm not trying to talk bad about anybody, but a testimony, this is how it happens. And my grandma passed away as well. But we were not close because she has Catholic roots. And Catholic roots do not connect with born-again children of God. It's the complete opposite, because the Catholic Church is the church of Satan and a false light. And the Church of God is the light of Christ. So they have conflicts. The last time I spoke to my grandmother, I preached the gospel to her. And after that, our relationship fell apart. And that's usually what happens. It's a risk, but it's a risk worth that person's life. That knowing if you are going to preach the gospel, I also preached it to my boss, and then after that, our relationship fell apart. If you are going to preach the gospel, these people who are not currently saved, they have a demon in them, or monitoring, teaching them, basically holding their hand through life. And they don't know it, but you do. And you preach them the gospel. That's like them having a best friend, and their best friend is a demon. Now, when you were just a coworker, an employee, or when you were just a grandson or granddaughter, if I'm talking about you, that demon had no problem with you. That best friend had no issue with you. But when you go and talk about something that takes that takes them away from their best friend and puts their best friend in a bad light, or in the true light in this case, you're an enemy to their best friend. So now, instead of them allowing you to take their friend away from them, they're going to make sure their friend gets rid of you. So what happens spiritually that you're not seeing, and that I see so clearly thanks to God revealing it to me, is that when you share the gospel, it can go two ways. If it's God ordained, they're going to reply with love, because they had ears to hear and eyes to see, and God sent you to them to accept the message because they are of God. They just were the memory card match that you needed to find and complete. You completed that mission. You're not going to have an issue with them. After that, you're going to come close together because you brought them to Christ. And now they have a relationship with Christ. You both share Christ. You both share the Bible. You both will probably share the same church, prayer life, fasting life, whatever. But to someone who had a traumatic experience with religion, or someone who is in a religious cult and think that it is the way, the truth, and the life, but it's not. It's a religion of works to deceive you to thinking that your own ways are good enough. Or someone who wants nothing to do with religion, faith, and they just want to live their best life because they believe after they die here, they automatically go to heaven. Everybody at the cemetery who's dead, heaven, live from the pit of hell. I'm sorry if you have someone that has passed away and you believe that. I can't say for your case. It's very specific. I don't know the relationship, but I do know the Bible. And the Bible tells us, and God tells us himself in his word, if you are not born again of the Spirit of God, with Jesus Christ residing in you, you will not see the kingdom of heaven. So don't go off of what I say and what I feel and what I think about the cemetery, because I'm not even doing that. I'm going off what the Word of God says as facts, as truth, because it is. So with that being said, you have to understand that I'm blunt. I'm straightforward. I'm going to give it to you the way it is. I'm not going to worry about your feelings and like, oh, I shouldn't say this because this might affect this person, or maybe this person's not ready to hear this. No, you're ready to hear it. That's why you're here watching it. That's why you're here listening to it. That's why you're here, because God sent you here to watch this video. So this message is for you. That's it. I'm not doing this chosen video of like, oh, if you're here, God sent you and it's a miracle. No. If you're here, yes, a lot of people pray prayers and they have told me, oh, I just prayed about this and now boom, your video pops up out of nowhere. Or I've seen your video and I've been ignoring it and I finally watched it and I'm glad I did. And it's not praise to me. And I don't take that praise. I say all glory to God, because it is God. I didn't send you to my video. God sent you to the video, because God wants to speak to you through the video, his word. So back to the point of this message is, growing up, because I was bullied, because I was abused, I was afraid to be at home because I didn't want to be abused. I didn't have friends because I was bullied, so all I had was family. You see how the enemy kind of like put me in a corner of no choice? If I had friends, I wouldn't have hung out with my cousin as much. If I could be comfortable at home, I wouldn't have been with my cousin as much. But he made it to where I had no choice. And then I made the choice, and I felt like I made the choice for myself, but he made the choice for me. Because I say this because I was recruited by that family, basically into their life, into their home. And every day I was there playing Mortal Kombat, video game console, which is the worst, one of the worst games you could ever play. Gruesome, gore, disgusting. Then I'm watching Freddy vs. Jason type movies, Hostel, all this evil, wicked, sinful garbage. It was like I was literally at the house of Satan. And I was. And my parents didn't even know, because I was not that person to talk about my day with my family. And my family wasn't that type of family to be like, how was your day? So you kind of just bottle things up and just hold on to it yourself and just deal with life on what life deals you. You just take what life deals you and you just adapt. And that was my life. I'd be out till 3 a.m. My parents wouldn't even care. But I had never gotten in trouble, so they didn't have to worry. But still, I'm like young. I'm like at my neighbor's house, hanging out with my best friend till 3 a.m. It is what it is. But that was the recruiting he did to me. Is he didn't just have my mom monitoring over me and being there as someone who's working on his team, so close to me, but then he also had my cousin monitoring over me, being there next to me at all times, training me up, making sure my eyes see evil, making sure my ears hear bad music, making sure I'm learning to curse. And my cousin would swerve to hit an animal, and I could never do that. I have a love for all human beings, all living things. This was before Christ. It's just the heart that God gave me. It's the character that God created within me, is I care about others. And I can't fathom, like on the way of coming here to Canada, I ended up running over something in the road, and it killed me. I was like, they have a family, and now that not going back home to their family. And I literally cried, not like bawling crying, but I teared up. My cousin, Daddy Longlegs, pulls the legs right off, one at a time, finds joy and happiness in it. If you get hurt, he laughs. So that's what I was raised around, that influence. Then I have my other cousin who loves to pop pills and get drunk, and his dad was in and out of jail. I'm not going to get into that because it's his business, but that was another influence I was around. These are not good influences to be around. And I was never that person to get involved into that kind of trouble. So the enemy kind of always tried to test the water with me to see like who could get an influence over me, who I would look up to like a mentor and a copycat and do everything that they say and do everything they do and say everything they say, like a little mini me. And I wouldn't do it because he was trying to get me connected with the wrong match. And he would try desperately. Let's try the cousin. Let's try the best friend up the street. Let's try the other cousin. And he would try so desperately hard to find someone that I could match with like that. And that he would bring an influence of like a daily training, coaching, whatever you want to call it. So it's like I had that influence over me every day as a kid, which is the worst, because a kid, you're like a sponge. Your brain is a sponge. It's just soaking up everything you learn and just, keeping it in your head and living it out. So of course, as a kid, he wanted to condition me. But enough about me. I'm just giving you a short little testimony of this is what he does. He probably is doing it in your life. He probably has a fake friend in your life that's a monitoring spirit to watch over to you, to kind of test the waters with you and see how dangerous you'll get. And hey, maybe we can just go get drunk at this party, and that's where it starts. And then maybe we can go and go steal something from this store. And he starts little by little, and he's very patient because it reaps good results, good rewards for him when you're evil, when you're working against God. It makes him very happy. So it's worth it. It's like us who work and we get paid every other week, or people who get paid once a month. Like, you're working for free until you get paid. Yeah, you're not working for free literally because you get paid, but you're not seeing money until that month, until that second week. So literally, like, if they didn't want to pay you, if they weren't like a professional company who had to pay you, if they didn't pay you, you made nothing. They just dipped and moved away or closed down business. Guess what? You just work for free. So it's like stuff like that you have to be careful about. So Distractions, man. Where's that at? 1 second. So yeah, you gotta live out to that saying, bad company corrupts good morals. What does that mean? That's basically like good morals is you sober. Bad company is you drunk. Bad company corrupts the soberness and makes you drunk. Are you a better person drunk, or are you a better person sober? Is your mind right sober, or is your mind right drunk? So if you're around a bad influence, they're training you up like a coach trains a player. They're training you up. Hey, this is my favorite spot to go to. Hey, this is my favorite high that I like to do is, go to this store and steal something. Hey, you should join me in my hobby. And they're training you up. You get rid of that company. They don't belong. It's just the enemy placing someone who is a monitoring spirit. It is spiritual. You see a physical human being, but what spirit is behind that human being, in that human being, teaching that human being? That's who you're best friends with. That's who you're buddy with. You got to realize that. So you choose who you want to hang out with. It's not chosen for you. You have a choice of who you want to marry. It's not chosen for you unless, it's some cult thing in some other country. I'm not going to get into that mess. Anyways, you choose. So again, that's a filtering option, right? Choice is filter. I choose to have healthy food today or junk food today. That's a choice. Free will. God gives us free will. Guess what? The enemy wants to take that from you. He wants to turn us into robots so that way he can control us like a joystick. I want this person to do this. Zzz, 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 zzz. Go over here, grab this. Oh, look, they're doing exactly as I want. Where God says, I love you. I respect you. Your actions have consequences, but you're free to do whatever actions you want because of free will. Adam and Eve had free will to eat of that fruit. God didn't say, God didn't make it impossible for them to eat of the fruit. He didn't put something up so that way afterward, yeah. But beforehand, they had free will to roam about, do what they want, but their actions of going against God's commandment of saying not to eat of it, he spoke it. He didn't make sure it happened as in making it impossible. He spoke it and said, let's see if they love me. Let's see if they respect me. Let's see if they have the fear of the Lord. Let's see if they will do as I command. Because as human beings, they have a choice. What kind of God would he be if you loved him because you had no choice? That sounds familiar. Oh, it's Satan. But he's not a God. He's a lowercase g God, which is a false God. But he forces people to worship him, to do things for him. And the way he forces is manipulates things in your life to put you in a position to where now he can recruit you and use you. But if you were on top of your life, you would tell him to go kick rocks. So that's how the enemy works. The way God works is, I want you to come to me because through your heart, you genuinely love me. Not because I'm guilting you into this or forcing you into this or baiting you into this or manipulating you into this. It's because he wants you to do it out of your own free will. Because that speaks from your heart. And if your heart is deceitful and wicked, as scripture says, who can know it, and you choose that same heart to worship the Lord, that says a lot about you. If you choose that same heart to reject Jesus, that says a lot about you. But again, This video went a lot longer than I expected, so I'm going to end it here on this last note that with strength, you remove his power over your life. You set that person, you set yourself free from that person. You evict them out of your mind and physically out of your life. It doesn't have to be physically out of your life. You want to forgive and try to work on a relationship again, depending on what situation it is. It's a case-by-case situation. I can't speak. If it's a friend that lied to you, maybe you can let that go and work on building up that friendship again. If it's someone that cheated on you, maybe they're gone for good. Maybe you can forgive them and hope it doesn't happen again. That's up to you. But if you allow unforgiveness to set in, even for 5 minutes, you say, it's okay, I'm just going to be mad about this for today. When you're mad about it, he makes you comfortable in being mad. He makes you feel like you have a right to be mad. You should go and kill that person for killing your daughter, for killing your son. You should get back at them. You should kill their son, kill their daughter. You should be mad at your boss for this because they shouldn't be coming at you. And that's how the enemy plays those little demon games in your head. He convinces you onto his team. We're a good team, man. We got a good 3-point shooter. We're really good at driving with the ball. This guy can cross over like crazy. We'll win on our team. But really, they're not telling you the truth. That their 3-point shooter is trash. That the guy dribbling is not that good. That they lose every single game. But they have to amp themselves up because they're desperate. And he's desperate. And he needs people on his side. No one's going to come to you and say, my job's going to fail. You want to join and come on board and be my employee. No, they're not going to do that. They're going to say, we're going to do really well and we need to stack up our team and we need to get an assistant, a manager, and this and that. So they're not going to pitch you something of failure, of truth, if it looks bad on them. So that's what the enemy does. He transforms himself into an angel of light because he's not an angel of light. That's why he has to transform, to manipulate, to lie. So the minute you allow any kind of unforgiveness, you have just planted a seed of thorns. These thorns are going to take over your life, just like the shirt that's dirty. You have just got that marking. I have unforgiveness. You're marked. I have hatred. Marked. I want that person to die. Marked. I'm gonna curse that person's life. Marked. And you're no longer pure. And those who have unforgiveness, the Father will not forgive you. And those who have pride, God resists the proud and gives grace unto the humble. Those who have anger and sin in their anger, God does not want nothing to do with. It is sinful. You can be angry, but sin not. So, if you are that person, you want to live the rest of your life, every day waking up, every night going to bed, all throughout the day, thinking about what this person did to you, then you allowed them to basically put you in a prison, to close the door, and you gave them the key. And they get to choose when you get out. That's the life you're looking at. But see, if you have forgiveness, deep down inside, you find that forgiveness. You find a way to get past it, to let it go, to understand, it's not them, but they did do it, but maybe, their past and transferred to them, and then they just repeat their past, like my mom. Maybe they did the best they could, and I just can't understand it as parenting, whatever it may be. If you can find that forgiveness, God, help me to forgive them. Help me to love my neighbor as myself. If you can find that forgiveness, They don't have you in a jail cell. And they don't have any key that has anything to do with your life, your house, your apartment, your car, nothing. They own nothing of you. They have no property of you. They can't touch anything of you because you set yourself free from them. You are free to roam about as you wish. You don't have to have a restraining order worried about this person coming to harm you again, like you would if you play victim in your life or live out victim in your life and just continue to let it bother you. And like I said, my mom, what she did to me, I stopped speaking to her for 2 years. 2 years straight. I said, don't talk to me. You're not my mother. I wanted her to pay. And you know who that made happy? Who that gave joy to? Satan. God was not happy with me. At that point, I didn't know God in the way that I do now. I didn't give my life to Christ. I knew of God and I had faith, but it was in religion. Because again, the enemy having a monitoring spirit over my life to gain control through my family and now religion is to make sure I don't get to where I'm supposed to be. They're roadblocks to success. They're roadblocks to victory. That's why usually, I can't say always, when you're struggling in life, you're dealing with so much problems, that's because there's something ahead that the enemy doesn't want you to see, doesn't want you to achieve. With the Israelites, for example, God had the promised land for them. All they had to do was trust in Moses. God was guiding Moses. Moses was coming back for his people. He didn't have to. He could have said, I'm free. My mother made sure that I was protected and not killed as one of the babies. And Pharaoh's wife, whatever, looked after me. But when I got older, I was free. I even had the life that we want here. We want what the bad people want. We see them successful, happy, getting nice mansions and cars and big jobs and big families and this and that, but they have no Christ. So, cool. They have all that. But if they were to cash that in, you know how much money they get back from all those material things in their life that are supposedly of value? Without Christ, you are nothing. So you know what? They say, hey, I have all this. I'd like to trade it in and see how much I can get. Okay. You can leave now. What do you mean? It's no value. I don't see Christ anywhere in your life. You didn't put Christ anywhere here on the table to offer up. You have no value. I'm not interested. That's really what's happening. The enemy makes you believe that they have everything, that they're like a king and they're living luxurious and they're on the winning team. They're the champions of the world. But what God says is they're nothing. They're the dirt, sand, whatever you want to call it, in my hand that's just sifting through my fingers because they are worthless without Christ. Because they are sinful human beings. And sinful human beings will face eternal torment in the lake of fire. That's the judgment of their sins. Jesus sets us free from that. From that judgment and from living out that way the rest of our life. So yeah, you may have a marriage. Other people don't. You may have a child. Other people can't have a child. And you think you have nothing because you don't have a mansion. You don't have a beach house. You don't have a nice fancy job. You don't have your own business. You have a lot more than most people. But the problem is, we always want more than what we already have. It's never enough. We always want what we can't have. But then those people who have a beach house and nice cars, this and that, they don't have a family, but they want a family, but they're lonely. They're lonely in their riches. Or they want to have a kid, but they can't have a kid because it just can't happen. So it's like, you got to see the bigger picture. The bigger picture is if you have Jesus, you already won. You just have to endure out this life until either Christ returns for the second coming or until you pass away. That's it. That's the greatest gift of all. If you were to bring that to a pawn shop and say, I have Jesus, how much is this worth? They'd say, I can't give you anything for this because this is too big of value that I have nothing in exchange. Jesus cannot be bought. He paid the price for you. So, again, I had unforgiveness toward my mom. That made the devil happy. Every day, I had anger toward her. Every day, she felt more and more less like a mother. And I bet you on her side in her life, he was in her head. You're such a miserable human being. Yeah, you don't even have a son anymore. You abused him every day. But he used her to do that. He uses you, and then he tells you what you did was wrong. And that's how sickening he is. So, I don't know her mindset on her end in her life at that moment. But I could only imagine because I know how the enemy works. He'll use you. You'll do the good job for him, but he'll make you feel like crap because he wants to continue using you. So he wants to continue making you more vulnerable, more angry, more lonely, more suicidal thinking, whatever. Because he wants to continue to use you because you did and fulfilled out the job he wanted. You passed the test. But he doesn't want you to know that. So that's how he works. So I had anger all my life. Everything that I didn't succeed in, I blamed my mom. I said, I'm this way because of my mom. I have a problem with relationships because of my mom. I'm scared of this because of my mom. And everything was my mom. She lived rent-free in my head all my life until I was like, geez, I don't even know how old I was. It was 2014, 2015, I believe. Yeah, I'm 37, so do the math. So with that being said, one day came down to it. My mom and I had a talk, and she was bawling her eyes out, not manipulatively. She was bawling her eyes out because she always said I was a bad mother, this, that, and it broke my heart. And I never knew why she was that way, but God made sure that she gave me the answer. That day she told me of her father beating her. I was able to finally find peace, finally get the answers, puzzle it all together and make sense of it. Because that piece was always missing. So I had this picture where this piece was missing, so I couldn't puzzle it together and figure out what was the reason of why she was doing what she was doing, who she was, and why she was. Then she started giving me key details. She had an affair, which I knew about. And then my parents got divorced when I was 16. Affair with a coworker. Okay, that's a spiritual transfer. That's fornication. That's adultery. And that's spiritual soul tie. That person who's okay with her cheating on her husband is not a good person, so it's not a man of God. So there's that. That brought that toxic Jezebel side of my mom. Plus the Catholic background. Plus the abuse from her father. Plus the other thing that I'm not going to explain because it's very personal. But that's just it. I finally got the answer. And I make sense of it. I'm like, so she didn't abuse me just to abuse me. It's not because it was my fault. It's not because I was a problematic child. It's not because she didn't like looking at me. It's because her father beat her and she felt helpless. No one stood up for her. And so every time she was beaten, she remembered it. And when she had a chance, she's not going to beat my dad. The bully attacks the weak, not the strong. So she attacks a child that can't fight for themselves yet. And all those years that she abused me, I didn't fight for myself. I just took it. I took it, I cried it out so much that my voice, I had no audio tone anymore. Like I could not talk. I cried it out so bad, I cried myself to sleep. I cried in a corner. I'm not trying to get a pity party here. I'm just saying this is my experience. So when I was finally able to puzzle it together, I felt bad for my mom. And I understood why she did what she did. Is it okay? No. But I understand it. So she said to me, you either need to let me go or you need to forgive me. And she's right. Those are the only two options I had. Let you go from my life, because repeating and reminding you of how bad of a person you are makes me on the team of Satan not even realize I'm doing his work for him. I'm belittling my mom. I'm tormenting my mom. I'm verbally abusing my mom by making her feel like absolute garbage for what she did. It's like me taking a video of her doing it and then playing it back to her. Remember this, remember this, remember this, remember this? And she's trying to now come away from it and be a better person. And I keep reminding her of her past. That's what the enemy did with me. He used me. See, the light of Christ, the cross always shines. He used me to do his dirty work. And he used her to do his dirty work on me. See how that works? But if I had forgiven my mom, which in that time I did, I said, okay, Mom, I forgive you. But you can't just say it. You can't just say it just so things are good and yeah, let's just pretend things are all right. You have to truly mean it in your heart, that there's no more hatred in your heart toward that person. If there is, there's no forgiveness. Because Jesus says to love your neighbor as yourself, not hate your neighbor. When God forgives us, he doesn't say, I forgive you, but you still did this. And I'm going to remind you of that. And I'm going to remember that every time. No, he says your sins have been forgotten when you come to Christ. And he says, actually, I can't think of it word for word right now, but basically, if he forgives you, he forgets about it. He doesn't hold it over your head. You know who does that? The enemy, because that's called torment. So if you're the type of person that says, I forgave that person, but you still talk bad about them, you still have hatred in your heart toward them, you see them and it makes you so angry, then you did not forgive. The devil's lying to you. Because forgiveness sets you free from that person. Free means no attachment of emotions. If you're angry, that's emotion. If you want to seek revenge, that's emotion. If you're talking bad, that's emotion. And that's a negative emotion. So if you want to talk about forgiveness, forgiveness is when you actually forgive that person. And when I forgave my mom for what she did, my life changed completely. That's how you know you truly forgave. Because when you have unforgiveness, it's like this heavy weighted backpack over your life. There's like a cloud over you every step you take, everywhere you go to sleep, there's a cloud. You're taking a shower, there's a cloud. You're brushing your teeth, there's a cloud. You're eating, there's a cloud. And it's just this raining cloud over your head 24/7. Absolutely everything in your life is miserable. You hate your job. You can't get along with people. You're moved, you thought it'd be great, but you hate where you are. You're not happy because you're holding on to this bag of weight still. When you forgive, get this off of me. I don't want this any longer. It doesn't belong. Now you're light, whatever the word is, not lighthearted, but you just feel light. You walk around in peace because there's sun over you now. You're happy, joy. You have good friendships because you're happy and you're joyous and they want to interact with you and share that with you. No one wants to be around a Debbie Downer or someone who's cranky all the time or depressed or negative. People used to tell me all the time I was negative because that's how my mom was. And I learned that from her. When you're around negative people, you start to become negative. They're constantly saying, oh, we're never going to make it. Oh, this isn't going to happen for me. Oh, I wish this would happen, but it's not possible for me. Oh, I would send this in, but I'll probably just get denied. Oh, I would try out, but I probably won't make it. Oh, we should go see the movie, but we probably won't make it in time. Those are negative people. Those are toxic people. And those kind of people are leeches that suck the life out of you. One second. I actually thought it was gonna be quicker, so I didn't think I had to put the light on, but I actually said that was the end, but this started pouring out. Those people suck the life out of you because now you view life as a dark cloud, as this depressing environment, as failure in everything. And that's why you compartmentalize and avoid those people, avoid getting close to those people. They have their own issues to work with themselves, to love themselves, to heal from something. But to come into your life, it's poisonous. And it will destroy everything in your path. If you had a successful job, their negativity will transfer to you. That energy will be a shift. Your job will see it. Maybe you'll start coming in late when you never have before. Maybe you'll get fired when you're actually the best employee. There's something toxic from them that will transfer to you, and it will be evident in your life. That's why it's crucial to avoid these people at all costs, because I was that person. And I saw what I was doing to other people, but I didn't notice in the time. Because at the time of being negative, you're just you. You're just living how you live. You're not happy with your life, so you're expressing that. But people don't want to always hear bad this, bad that. I'm not talking about like you have a bad day and your friend doesn't want to hear that. That's not a friend. I'm talking about like just constantly negative, no hope, no success, no hard working, nothing that is uplifting. People don't want to be around that. That's depressing. You're bringing them down. It's like you're down here and they're up here, and you're like, hey, if you want to talk to me, you gotta talk to me down here. So they're like, oh, okay, hey, what's going on? You're bringing them down to your level. When the ladder goes up, you want to go up on the ladder, not down. The ladder of life. So being around people that are also hardworking, that are also positive, that are also motivated, that are also driven, that are also hopeful, that energy shifts. And that's the energy you want to be around, because that energy is uplifting, it's motivating, it's encouraging, it's supportive. And that's the kind of people you want in your life, because those people are healthy. Whereas the other people are toxic and they need healing. So, yeah, people told me all the time, man, you're so negative. You're always negative. Aren't you ever happy? Don't you ever think positive about something? And I'm like, what do you mean? Like, I didn't understand, because I was in this tunnel vision of life, my life, and no one lived in my shoes, so they couldn't understand me. So I was just living my life, being who I am. And at that moment, it was a toxic version of me. And afterwards, when I forgave my mom, that toxic version of me was no more. It was gone forever. Because that toxic version of me, that toxic version was a spiritual influence that was tormenting me and tormenting anybody that was in my path. And it wanted to destroy everything in my path, in my life. Not bring success, bring failure. Not bring hope, bring doubt. That's what it was. And that's because of unforgiveness toward my mom. And the minute I forgave my mom, that spirit was gone for good. Because that spirit only comes when you separate yourself from God. When you do the devil's work, you open that spiritual doorway as saying, I want to be on your team. Whatever you do, I'm going to do. You teach me and show me the way. But when you say, I serve the Lord Jesus Christ and only him do I serve, that spirit cannot recruit you onto their team, because you want nothing to do with that spirit, because it's in conflict with Jesus. And what is in conflict with Jesus is in conflict with your life and the growth and the value of your life and the outcome of your life. So what you have to understand is you become that person. not because of who you are, because of what you allow. It's not I was born this way and I'm just a miserable person and I'm negative and I just got to find someone who's miserable who will be my husband because it's the only way I'm going to be happy. False. We, as those toxic people, not we now, me then, I'm not going to admit to it now, we then, under the devil's grip, would gravitate toward who? Negative people? No. Toxic people? No. We wanted to live vicariously through people that were happy, people that were successful, people that were uplifting, motivating, hopeful. Why? Because we weren't feeling that way and we wanted to feel what it's like. And in the same sense, that's the reward for the enemy. If we go to someone who's toxic, who's negative, the enemy already has them in his hand. Why is he going to send us to be friends with them when he already has them under his control? But what he doesn't have under his control is people that are successful. Unless they live for their riches, then they make money their God. Unless people that are motivating, people that are uplifting, he wants to ruin their life. And he wants to use you to do it. He wants to use your unforgiveness to be like a wildfire that spreads. Anything in your path is destroyed. That's why. So that's why those people who are healthy, who are genuine, who are sane, need to avoid those versions of people, because it's a spiritual influence that wants to torment that person's life and destroy it from the ground up. And them avoiding it is like avoiding a roommate that wants to live rent-free and not pay rent and have to get evicted. Why deal with the headache? Just interview the person, say you're not right for this place, ask for a deposit, you can't pay it, you can't live here. Rather than testing the waters, taking the risk, letting them move in, and then all of a sudden, surprise, nightmare from hell. So, again, back to the point of this message is, when I forgave my mom, my life changed completely. I still had struggles, but I no longer ever again said, I'm this way because of my mom. That victim mentality was gone because forgiveness is there. My heart toward my mom changed and we became best friends. And I never thought that was possible. We were enemies growing up. And like I said, they attack the weak until you get strong. One day, she tried to hit me. It was the day that I was a little older. I grabbed the spoon from her hand. I threw it out the window and smashed it. That was the last time she hit me. Why? Because she realized that I'm not this puny little victim anymore and I will fight back. So I'm not just a punching bag that will just lay there for you to start beating on whenever you want to, whenever you feel like it, whenever you want to let out your frustration, let out your stress, let out your anger. That's not me anymore. I'm punching back. Not punching physically. I'm not abusive toward my mom, but I'm saying I am fighting back. I grabbed that spoon and threw it. It's a wooden spoon that you use in the pot. Threw it, smashed the window. And I'm pretty sure that's when my dad separated with her too. Because he was like, what's going on here? There's a smashed window. And I'm sure it was told, I don't know, a lot of my past is blocked out. It's a blur. All that I remember is all that's in my testimony that I will reveal to you, which will also be a long video. But that's what happened. And that was the end. She never hit me again because I put the fear in her. She was terrified that day. She didn't know I had that in me. And eventually, you poke a bear so much, it will bite. So yeah, you can beat on a person, but don't expect to continue to visit and come back and eventually nothing happening. And nothing ever happening. Because eventually something will happen. Just like people that rob from the same place. You may have gotten away with it once, maybe twice, but if you keep coming back, they're going to start seeing a pattern. Then they're going to start more alert, and then they're going to catch you. So, same concept. So my advice to you is forgive whoever it is for whatever it was, for whatever it was, or whatever it is. Because that is the greatest thing you can do for your life and for your future. Because your future is in the hands of God through forgiveness. Your future is in the hands of Satan through unforgiveness. That's your choice. Who do you want to live for? Choose today whom you serve. Because unforgiveness is not fun to live with. I was no longer depressed. I was no longer feeling lonely. I was no longer hating my life. All of it was gone because all that came from torment. That wasn't who I was born created with by God. It was the devil in my head, in my emotions, telling me, no one loves me. You're all alone. Look, no one wants to hang out with you. Look, you can't even finish high school. Your mom doesn't even love you. This, that, she said this about you. That's the enemy. Once you find forgiveness, you evict him. You don't have to listen to that roommate anymore because it doesn't live there. And you're not answering any phone calls because you blocked their number. So they have no way to get into your mind any longer. So guess what? Now you get to live the way that you were supposed to live. God's will over your life. Because you finally evicted the virus and now you can get the cure. If you don't realize you have a virus, you're not looking for a cure. And that's the problem. Unforgiveness is a virus. And if you're walking around saying, I deserve to be mad at this person deserves to die, this person deserves to suffer, then you, my friend, have a virus. And that virus will destroy you from the inside out for as long as you allow it to until you forgive. And I promise you, the minute you genuinely forgive, and you can move on from that person. You don't have to be best friends, you don't have to stay in touch, but you don't have any bad intent toward them any longer. The minute you can do that, you will see your life change. You will set yourself free from that person, and you will feel so different. And you will see success be reaped in your life. I promise you. I'm a prime example. I'm married to a God-fearing woman, amazing 11-month-old son. There's nothing else I could ask for. I have what most people want, and I'm grateful for it. So think of that. Next time you choose anger, next time you choose to seek revenge, because you're just being used by the devil. And you don't get any reward from it. In fact, you get consequences. You reap what you sow, and you deal with the consequences of being angry. When you're angry, you do stupid, foolish stuff. You burn bridges with companies, you burn relationships, people avoid you, whatever it may be. Family problems in the home, it's not worth it. Trust me. So, again, don't let the enemy recruit you over to his team. That's how he does it, through traumatic experiences. He brings that traumatic experience to bring that spiritual transfer, and that spiritual transfer stays with you because you allow it to. You allow it to, as if it's someone delivering alcohol to you every day so you can get drunk. There has to be that day when you've had enough and you say, you know what, I don't want this delivery anymore. I'm changing my life for the better. I don't deserve this life, I deserve better. And I'm going to make a stand now to make that change for good. So I'm sorry for any of you who have dealt with any traumatic experiences, but the best thing you can do is forgive. You forgive, you set yourself free. And the enemy loses you as a puppet of his. And you come on to the team of Jesus Christ, where you will be loved. God loves you. He's always there for you. He'll never leave you nor forsake you, as his word says. You can always trust in him. Don't trust in man. Man can fail you, but God will not. God is your strength when you are feeling weak. Lay your burden upon him, and he will give you rest. God bless.